The 89th legislative session is in full swing. Thousands of bills have already been filed by legislators. Accordingly, some details on bills can get overlooked, even on critical legislation. That's why we've asked legislators to come to TPPF to discuss their bills and ensure you are on top of the most important issues making their way through the Texas Capitol. This is the layout. I'm Carson Clayton, campaign director for TPPF's Life Power Project. Today, we are discussing SB 312 with Senator Bryan Hughes from Senate District 1. Chairman Hughes, welcome to the layout.
It's good to be back. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So today, we are discussing SB 312, and that would require the governing bodies of Texas retirement systems, their financial advisors, and their proxy advisors to maximize returns for Texas retirees and make decisions based solely on financial factors. So for those unfamiliar, explain a little bit, because it's not easy to pass a bill, and you're working on a bill that says financial advisors should focus on financial factors, and maximizing returns is the motivation for the pension system. So why is this even needed?
Remarkable, isn't it?
Yeah.
That we can't count on financial firms to maximize financial returns. You know what's going on in the last several years. We have these Wall Street firms, and Texas hires them to manage those pension funds, those university endowment funds. And we hire them to maximize those returns. So they take our money, Texas money, and they buy shares in all kinds of different corporations. The problem is, when they buy those shares with our money, they get to vote those shares. They have millions of shares in all kinds of companies, and they can go to the annual meeting and vote those shares against our interests. So they vote those shares against oil and gas development, against common sense policies like election policies that make it easy to vote and hard to cheat. They weaponize these shares, and it's our money they're using. So they take our money and they vote those shares against us, cutting off Texas jobs, cutting off Texas energy. So this bill says, if you're investing money for Texas, your job is to maximize financial returns. Leave the politics to the people of Texas. Your job is to maximize financial returns.
And you're right. I've looked into this issue quite a bit, and some of the proposals being made and voted on are really outrageous. They're trying to get ExxonMobil to produce less oil and gas. They're trying to get Chevron to extremely reduce their carbon emissions, and really it's going to be reducing their profits. And for a state whose the economy is run on oil and gas, that's not beneficial for us or for retirees.
Man, you are so right. We think about the oil and gas sector in Texas and all the great jobs it provides, but even beyond that, that low-cost, reliable energy, that lifts people up. Every product we buy has an energy cost component. Low-cost, reliable energy is the best for working people, for real people. It raises our cost of living. And when they kill Texas jobs and raise the cost of living for everyone, we're not going to put up with that.
Absolutely not. So tell us this bill. What is it? Go through it a little bit. How does it actually work, and what will it do?
You bet. So a number of these firms have joined groups like the Net Zero Asset Managers or the Glasgow Financial Alliance. And when they join these groups, they pledge to use all assets under management to reduce carbon emissions, to go to net zero by 2050. So they're telling us, oh yeah, we're maximizing returns. But they're telling these groups that they joined, we're going to use all the assets we manage. All assets includes Texas assets, Florida assets, New York assets, all assets under management to push for these net zero returns. So they're using our money to vote against oil and gas. It's the worst thing they could be doing to us. And so this bill says, if you're going to join one of those groups, you've got to promise us and you've got to certify to us that you're maximizing our returns. If not, we can hold them accountable. And it tells our pension funds, we want you to hire managers who promise to do financial returns and not play politics with our money.
So the pension funds here in Texas, you've been working on this issue. You worked on it last session. Has there been any change in their behavior since you've been pushing on this? And is there significant change that this legislation would initiate?
Texas is winning. Texas started this fight. we started fighting back. Other red states have followed us, and you see firms like BlackRock and State Street, and they're backing off from some of those radical environmental positions they were taking, and they're saying, okay, we won't do that anymore. And we still got to watch them to make sure. So Texas is winning, but we still have Texas pension funds that are investing their money with managers who are voting against oil and gas, voting against Texas jobs. So this bill is very much needed.
And you mentioned in the legislation transparency quite a few times. Why is that an important factor here?
The money they're investing belongs to the people of Texas. They need to be open in what they're doing with it. It comes up often in Texas, comes up often in these events, these recordings that you do about important bills. But sunshine is the best disinfectant. What have they got to hide?
Absolutely. So you mentioned it a little bit just now, but ESG, there's been a lot of changes. BlackRock, pulling out of the Climate Action 100, that advocacy group. Larry Fink isn't using ESG anymore. A lot of people are saying that ESG is on the, spiraling down. It's going away. If you looked over the past few years, maybe start that State Affairs hearing in Marshall back in 22, up until now, do you think the success that we've seen is signaling the end of ESG? Do you think maybe it's just moving maybe behind the scenes a little bit more? Do you think ESG is done, or is there a big fight still left to have?
People are definitely paying attention, and they used to brag about all their ESG stuff. They've stopped doing that. So you're right. It's definitely not as open and notorious as it was, but it is still happening. Now, those big firms that got attention like BlackRock and State Street, the ones we've been watching, they're behaving a little better, but there are still scores of financial firms out there that are voting terribly. When I say voting terribly, I mean taking your money, Texas retirees' money, and voting it against Texas values. So we've still got some work to do.
Finally, any pushback on this bill? Are you expecting any? Have you experienced any so far?
Believe it or not, some of our public pension funds in Texas, those who are investing money on behalf of the state, some of our public pension funds have taken the position, we just can't do this. This will cost us too much. We just have to use these firms. Of course, that's false. We don't know if there's a relationship between the firms, if they just don't want to make changes, but we're going to hold them accountable. If you're managing money on behalf of the people of Texas, you will be held to account.
That's great news. Thank you so much, Chairman, for joining us on The Layout.
Thanks for having me.